Hello and good afternoon, everyone. I usually say good evening, but this is an afternoon edition of Pints and Quarts presented by Craft Beer Nation. I'm the host, Matt Miller. We are on location. Several of us came up to D.C. this weekend for the Savor Festival down at the National Building Museum, put on by the Brewers Association, and we have ventured our way all the way out to Maryland. We are 0.1 miles outside of the D.C. proper. We are here at Denizens Brewing Company, and we've got Jeff Ramirez here. He is part owner, head brewer, and man, if you tasted this stuff, you would call him a craftsman for sure. So we've got Charles Dunkley is not here tonight. We got Randy Gardner Jr. Gil Melo is just off camera. Myself, Matt Miller, and also joining us from the Hangout is Boris Castillo. Boris, hello.
Hey, how you doing?
All right, we're doing fantastic. All right, so let's get right to it here. We are at Denizens Brewing Company, and we have been setting our cameras and stuff up here for a while and trying the lineup. So you'll have to. I'll apologize now for the delicious beer that we've had prior to going on air. But I've got the Pilsner. Randy's got the mild. The mild. Mm-hmm. We've got a rye IPA. Gil's just drinking in the corner over there. But
Jeff is drinking a pale ale.
Jeff's got a pale ale that you're launching today.
Yep. At 3 o'clock. So
at 3 o'clock. So we'll have to wait until 3 o'clock. I bet we can twist his arm into a small pour. But yeah, no, we're here at Denizens Brewing in Silver Spring, Maryland, and these guys are really new. What, 1 year, 2 years? Have you had your anniversary yet?
1 year anniversary will be July 16th, I believe.
Yeah, and they're killing it. So Jeff's got a bit of a background in brewing. Jeff, tell us a little bit about how you got started in brewing, where you come from, where you.
I started in North Jersey, where I'm originally from, at Trap Rock Brew Pub, where I served an apprentice. And then probably about 6 months after there, I got a job at Iron Hill Brewing Company. They have multiple locations in the Philly area. And I worked at the Maple Shade location with Chris LaPierre. And then from there, I worked there for a couple of years and then moved out to Colorado, where I worked at Mountain Sun Breweries.
Mountain Sun Breweries?
Well,
yeah.
The original one's Mountain Sun Brewery in Boulder, Colorado, but they opened Southern Sun and Vine Street, and then they also have other restaurant locations throughout Colorado, the Upper Front Range.
You worked there just till a year ago, to when you came here, a year and a half ago, to when you came here to set this up?
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. The brewery is actually owned in part by 4 of you?
Yes.
Yeah. So we've met. Well, I think I've met all of you now, but Jennifer is your sister?
No. Julie. And Emily, basically, they're married. And Taylor, who does the marketing, you've been in contact with, she also has part of the company. But Emily is my older brother's my sister-in-law's sister, essentially. Okay. So my older brother's sister-in-law. Yeah, it's the weirdest thing to say.
All right, so there is a family connection there somehow.
Yeah.
They decided they wanted to do a business, and they knew how good a beer you made, so they said, let's do this all together. Well, that's cool. So you've been here a year. It's kind of a cool location. It sits in Silver Spring here, kind of up a little higher than most ground level buildings. So you've got a neat perspective of the city here. And I'm just really in love with this Pilsner. Tell us about the Pilsner.
Czech style Pilsner. It's called Born Bohemian. And it was just kind of one of the things I had to make if I was going to be a brewer here. It's going to be on all the time. I love drinking Pilsner. I love Saaz hops. So it's like, the floral nature, herbal nature of it. It's refreshing. But the softer water kind of rounds everything out, which is like pretty approachable. So,
yeah.
And on a day like today, that Pilsner is spot on, because I don't know if you can. I have beads of sweat on my head, but it's hot out here. But we get a good breeze every once in a while. But that Pilsner is totally hitting the spot for a day like today.
It is.
So what do you guys feel like is your identity as a brewery? You got some guys who tend to be hop forward breweries, and they do it well. Some are malt based breweries, but you guys, what's your identity? Is it balance or what? Or do you want to be a little bit of everything?
Basically a little bit of everything. If you look at our core brands, we have 5 core brands, and there's 3 different yeast strains. So it's lager yeast, Belgian yeast, and our house ale yeast strain. Mm-hmm. So that's not easy to manage when you have 5 chemical fermenters downstairs. So it's trying to be a little bit of everything with what we have. And then obviously I don't know if you've been downstairs yet, but the barrel program that we've been building, mm-hmm. and going to start releasing the Brett and sour beers and such. Again, I love drinking lager beer or hoppy beer. That's pretty much my go-to. But I think what we want here is to have people come and be able to experience wide spectrum of flavors, aromas, and styles. So with what we can do. You know?
What's your brew house capacity right now?
You mean annual barrelage or the actual size of the?
Well, I guess you're coming up on a point where you can give actual annual annual barrelage numbers.
Nah.
So yeah,
it's basically a 15 barrel system.
Okay.
We got 5 conical fermenters, 1 bright tank. We keg off everything. And then we have these 2 like 10 barrel jacketed open fermenters that we use for the bread and sour stuff.
Okay.
So I always said safely, like if we were really pumping it out, anywhere from like 2,200 to 2,500 with what we currently have here, but that's not really counting, barrel aging and those 2 tanks.
So you've got jacketed open fermenters downstairs?
Yeah.
And you're just letting that bug fly all around in there? I mean,
well, no, they're open, meaning that they don't hold pressure, but they're not just like open.
I was about to say, because Gil is a little gaseous today, so don't take him downstairs today. So are you guys do you eventually want to be a production brewery where you start, canning your products and getting it out like that, or are you gonna focus only on taps?
Well, I mean, it's a catch-22. If you grow and you put your product in can, great, it can hit more people.
Right.
But superior product always going to come out of a keg. Or even if we don't do it here, but brew pubs, when they have serving tanks, less oxygen, it's going to be fresher for longer.
Okay.
But that is the goal, and we just don't want to rush into it too quickly. So our goal is to have an offsite facility and package product there, but that's 3 to 5 years down the line. And to be honest, I just kind of want to enjoy making beer at this location. And,
enjoy this this step in the process, right?
Yeah.
So you, as the head brewer, you are the crafter of the recipes. Is there anything that you use as inspiration, or you just kind of just randomly think of crazy stuff to try, write it down, and see what makes sense, or how do you come up with your recipes?
I mean, it's all about friends in the industry. Like I said, I was just at Philly Beer Week. We were pouring at Varga Bar with an event with a bunch of friends of mine from Philly or used to be in the Philly area, and I learned more going there and just talking to them and seeing what they're doing. And we're just hanging out, but I learned more that way and tasting their beers than I could from like reading and all that. We've done all that stuff. So the inspiration comes from people and their products, what customers coming in they are asking for, like no matter what.
Yeah.
I like drinking Pilsner, but not everybody wants to drink Pilsner.
Right.
Yeah. In fact, Gil's turning his microphone on right now to ask you to make a Nutella stout. He wants a hazelnut chocolate stout.
Gotcha.
I think he'd pretty much buy the 15 barrels.
You wanna be my hero? Just brew a Nutella stout.
I don't even know what goes into Nutella.
Hazelnuts and
it's
chocolate.
hazelnut.
That's really like linseed oil and some chocolate.
Yeah.
Now the wheels are turning.
Yeah. He's like, can you give me a chemical breakdown of Nutella?
So you guys have a beer called Brett Leroy.
Yes.
Obviously it's a play on Bruce Leroy. Yeah.
Did you catch that?
I'm gonna get this out there. I'm gonna peel this little banana. So am I the meanest show enough? Anyway, can you tell us a little bit about Brett Leroy?
It was a collaboration beer with my buddy Paul Rutherford, who's at one of the Iron Hill breweries now. He's at the Ardmore location in PA. And you're just like, you want to make a beer? I was like, sure.
That's how all great beers start. Yeah, you want to make a beer?
That's how things work in my office.
Yeah.
You want to do some work?
So basically,
you want to file a report? Go ahead, man. Let's do this.
But he just, he came down. I was like, what do you want to do? It's like maybe 3 emails across the board. Like, want to make Brett IPA? Cool. What hops? These hops. I have these. You got those? Boom. I have Brett Dre. Fine. I can use that.
Done.
The name's always the hardest part. I was like, I wanted to call it the Glow. When you reach that final level of becoming a master in The Last Dragon. But he was just like, what about Brett Leroy? I was like, all right, done.
that was easy. So which strain of Brett you say you use in that beer?
It's originally the Dre Fontaine. We got it from White Labs. University of Maryland actually is very kind to us and is actually banking that strain for us. So because we can't always have it in use, we'd have to buy a new pitch all the time. But they came and offered, their facility to hold it.
Awesome.
And, so originally, I believe it was like Adam Avery who brought it into BSI over in Colorado, but now all the East providers have it pretty much.
Because one thing I'm not a big fan of Brett because I don't care for that the barnyard that you get. I guess that's Brettanomyces bruxellensis.
Or the Lambicus.
But in that Brett Leroy, I don't get any of that. So clearly it's a strain of Brett that I like.
Well, Dre is I've always noticed less of the horse blanket.
Yeah.
And my favorite is when it gives that like pineapple, sour cherry kind of thing, and it just takes time.
Yeah.
And again, always learning. You got to figure out when you can pitch it. Post fermentation, use it as the prime. There's different things going to happen depending on where it was actually used in the process. So.
Yeah. How long I let it go.
How do you come across those kind of things? Is that where you lean on people with experience and you talk to? I mean, you can't, when you're talking about 15 barrels of product downstairs, you can't just like, well, let's try this, right? I mean, you've got to have a pretty good idea of what's going to happen when you start the process, right?
Yeah. I mean, I was fortunate enough to be exposed to Brett and bacteria at the Iron Hill I worked at. For a brew pub, especially at that time period, we had a large barrel aging program. And one of the beers we brewed there is Flemish Red, Lambic, and then miscellaneous like Brett and sour beers and stuff. So that was when I got like my first taste of it. And then when I actually went to Mountain Sun, I was given the position of head brewer of the Mountain Sun location, which was just doing all specialty beers. And then I convinced my boss, John Fiorelli, to actually let me go down to Vine Street and use that brew house and use all these old Grundy tanks that we had in a separate location for primary fermentation of Brett and sour beers. And then we had, I basically, when I left Colorado, I left like 50 barrels in the basement of like different projects, which was kind of sad, but
yeah.
But they might be sending it out here for this Sour Fest we're doing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, let's talk about the Sour Fest. You guys are putting on the Sour Fest?
It's definitely a little premature to give the exact.
Okay.
We're going to do a little release, I think, in a week or so about, ticket pricing, who's involved and all that. But it's in September, and
I'll be glad to come as a member of the media.
Yeah. Do you have media access? Yeah, we can get a pass for that.
But the goal of it is more to kind of show the spectrum of what Brett and bacteria can do. A lot of people have certain ideas that they're just very, very sour and all that stuff. Nathan Right Proper is producing a lot of farmhouse-inspired ales with Brett in it, and at the time which it's packaged and served, it's a different character than say other Brett beers that on the market. So
Michael Tonsmeyer lives right here in the area. Yeah.
Tacoma or something?
Yeah, he lives right here somewhere pretty close. So and I think he literally wrote the book for the Brewers Association on sours. So
we had him on.
We did.
Yeah.
Cool. Hopefully we'll see him at Savor tonight. Yeah. I've been wanting to talk to him.
The beer that I just finished was your Southside Rye. Is this your flagship beer?
Yep, one of them.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about it? We don't want you to give them trade secrets or anything.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'll give you the recipe.
Yes, right. There you go.
It's called Southside because we're south of the bridge in Silver Spring. This area is Silver Spring right before it hit the DC border. It was kind of, from what I was told, and even just being here a year and a half, kind of untouched for a while. They're starting to build it up. And, a lot of people just kind of knew Silver Spring downtown is over there. But as you can see on East West, Bump and Grind down there, Scion, they're opening up places that people come to. And it's just kind of like, what? That
we were at Scion in DC for lunch today. So now there's a Scion location out here. We all went,
there's one right there.
Man,
could have came there for lunch and walked across the street.
Yeah.
But it's just we opened with that beer. It was actually contract brewed by Beltway for the first month because we had separate occupancies and we were working on getting the brewery up and running in the downstairs.
Right.
But we had the ability to serve beer up here, so we just contract brewed that in the ESB.
Because you guys actually serve beer at 3 different spots here. You got the outside bar, you got right on the inside and downstairs.
Yeah.
In the actual brew house, basically.
Yeah. It's a sunken bar. This was a club a while back. And there's a sunken bar that was it was under floor, like the flooring, and we just ripped it up and like, oh, there's drains. We got
perfect.
it.
Yeah, tell about the location. Explain about what you have here.
It's an interesting spot. It's basically currently right now the beer garden, we're at street level with East West Highway. If you go that way, it's gonna hit Georgia Avenue. Over here, you drop down. It's they call it Arts Alley. There's photo, film, audio places that work in there. There's Muranko's Ice Cream. And then right over there is Georgia Avenue. It's kind of like a step down, like a level down. And that's where our lower tap room and brewery sit street level. So it's interesting. It's like 2 stories, but they're both street level on each side.
The layout of your whole brewery is almost as complex as a beer can get. I mean, because you come out here, like you said, we have the beer garden, and then like the experience downstairs almost feels like you went somewhere else when you go downstairs. But it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I was getting a tour from Taylor a couple of months ago when I was here, and it almost looked like I almost felt like she was trying to find a place to dump the body. It was like you go down the stairs and you take a turn and you come around here and it's like, okay, where are we? Oh, there's a whole other bar. There's another whole presentation.
When it's a mezzanine layout, right?
Well, when you're sitting at the bar downstairs, it's almost the bartenders are lower than you are.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Good spot. I like it here.
You know what we haven't heard from Boris? Is Boris still with us? Boris, what kind of questions have you got from what we've been talking about?
I'm still here, man. I'm actually enjoying. I'm almost like a live viewer right now because it's been so long since I've been on. I do have a question though. I wonder if you could speak on opening a brewery in the state, and why not open in DC when you're literally 150 feet away from it? Why Maryland? What's the tie into Maryland, I guess, is the first question. And 2, how hard was it? Does it take a while? Because I would like to know, as my home state, I actually had no idea you guys were even in existence.
Yeah, you guys had some challenges here in Silver Spring at first, right?
Yeah, and to be honest, I'm not from the area. So Emily and Julie currently live, a mile up the road off of Georgia Avenue, and basically, before this has even happened, I was in Colorado, and they were talking about DC versus Maryland, and I didn't really have much to say on it because I was like, I don't
care.
Yeah, right.
You can say it.
Right.
No, I just
I want to make beer wherever you set the building up.
Show me the fermenters.
Well, it was more. What could we do as a company? And they asked, what would be your ideal situation? Brew pub, production facility, or whatever. I was like, I want to do everything. You can serve beer on site here, and you can sell it off site without a distributor, and basically, and not serve food, at least not through our company.
Yeah.
It's the wild west here is what it is.
Well, that's what they used to call DC, because at least with the distribution, right? So,
DC still is.
Yeah.
Here I wouldn't call it that. It's but there were some hoops to jump through, and Julie and Emily definitely pushed through some bills and worked on it.
So yeah, they were involved in some legislation as well, right?
Yeah.
So you can be your own distributor. You can sell on premise and off premise from the same location. I mean, there are some rules about growlers have to be sealed and all other kind of stuff, right?
Sure, but that's legit.
Right, right. That's just to keep you from.
Just give a jug or something.
No, we don't need any open container violations. So
yeah,
I think that's why they put that sealed growler thing.
Yeah, right. Well, it's more about responsible consumers than it is responsible vendors. But
and they also they another law got changed. You previously could not fill someone else's growler, like another brewery's growler. But I mean, there's pros and cons to that as a company,
Right.
But no matter what, if you're trying to be a little more green about and reuse glass, you should be able to do that.
Yeah.
I thought. Oh, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, I forgot. Boris, did I even answer any of the questions that you had?
Well, see, Boris is going to leave the military at some point, and he wants to open up. And I mean, if you've had any of his beer, he ought to be the next brewery opening up here in Maryland somewhere. So he's trying to figure out where does he want to open his place up.
So basically, what ended up happening is that as a new company, we could sell our beer without going through the distributor, kind of find our identity as a company, and then make a better decision. In the future, we will use distributors, but it's hard to sign up and figure out what your real concept is, where the direction your company is going, and sign your life away essentially to a distributor.
Right.
Yeah.
Sell your soul.
Well, and it's also too, it's something that personally I haven't had much experience working with because I know distributors, but I've never worked with them.
You've always been brewing, and
no, but I mean in larger pub settings, and never just production.
Right.
How How much of your beer is sold to restaurants and tap houses around here? I mean, you know, does most of the stuff come across the bar right here? Or do you?
That's always the goal. It's not always the case.
Yeah.
Well, no matter what of each batch, more of it gets sold here than offsite. But the goal I always thought would be like 25% of a batch offsite, and then 75% on-site would be perfect. It's never, but it's not going to happen.
Well, because the offsite gives an opportunity for people at Church Key or where the better beer spots in the area to find and discover you, and then go, wow, let's make a Saturday trip out here and to Silver Spring and check it out.
Would you happen to know how far you reach in Maryland? Like, do you make it all the way up to Baltimore? Do you stop at, say, Laurel?
I think the farthest we've gone up is Olney, I believe, or Gaithersburg. I'm not sure which one's higher up. Farther north.
Well, actually, I think they're about parallel, depending on which road you take up.
And for self-distribution, that's difficult to make that travel up there. But we basically stayed in Montgomery County in Maryland and down to the DC area, as far south as like Cap Hill, probably.
Okay. Well,
pretty cool.
When you guys make it on taps at Church Key, you've kind of arrived. So like that'll be awesome. You know.
Denizens tap takeover at Church Key. I feel that happening already. I just sense that.
When it happens and I go to Church Key, I'm gonna tell everybody I know y'all. Like
oh yeah, Jeff and I, man, we go way back. We had a pint. We had a pint on the porch.
Friends.
Yeah,
we're old friends.
Yeah, I remember him from Iron Hill. You know.
I remember he lived in Colorado.
All right, thanks. I mean, this has really been great, Jeff. Thanks a lot. All right, guys, we're back, and we've actually got Emily Bruno. She's one of the other co-owners of Denizens Brewing here. We've still got Boris. We took a little bit break, but we're back here now, and we have in our glass a beer that you guys are releasing today called Train Spotting, and it's an American Pale Ale, and it is get in your car and get down here right now because this beer at 3 o'clock today is available, and it is delicious.
Me, Matt, and Gil are going to kick the keg today.
Yeah, if you don't get some now, it's gone.
We're going to kick it.
All 15 barrels of it will be consumed.
Well, this is the first time we're releasing it, so if people like it, we will keep it on the menu.
Well, you want me to save you some headache?
Yes.
They're going to like it.
Go ahead, keep it on the menu.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead and get the grain in for the next batch. So Emily, when we had Jeff on here, we were talking about a lot of the beer recipes and a lot of the background, and he's all of 2 days into 29 now, and he's telling us all these breweries he worked for and these great programs that he's been a part of. So it's exciting to have that kind of talent right here, and I'm telling you, it is talent. This is really good stuff. But we want to talk a little bit about the business and what it takes to begin a brewery and kind of the road that you guys had to, this is a learning process. Let's make a brewery. This is a great idea.
Sure.
And then you cry yourself to sleep at night because it's so hard.
Yeah.
And we want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what are some of the challenges that you face, especially, we spoke to Jeff a little bit about opening up in Silver Spring. I know you had to do some legislative things and stuff like that, but so I'm hoping you could go into a little bit more detail about the challenges that you face just trying to open up here to get started.
Yeah, I mean, so we have a cool, I think we've had a little bit of a success early because we've been able to have a really good team together. So we've got Jeff, who has, really strong skills. Julie Verratti, who's the other owner, is a lawyer by training. So she did a lot of legislative work that helped us change the laws here. So we have one of the most liberal operating environments in the DC area. I have a strong background in project management, so I've run things before of different sizes. And then Taylor Barnes is our marketing director and has had a lot of great experience in working with the public. So together we were able to do a lot pretty quickly. So we spent about 1.5 years between when we said, okay, we're going to do this, to when we opened our doors, which is actually a fairly short time period. The legislative stuff, believe it or not, was actually fairly easy. Julie and I both have political organizing backgrounds, and so we just did what we've done in other arenas, just called our legislators and said,
then
hey,
pay them a lot of money. And then
no, believe it or not, all you have to do is ask and say like, hey, I would like to have the law be this way, and here are the reasons why. And they were pretty receptive. And so we were lucky in that regard. We've done actually another round of changes this year to kind of change some other things for starting July 1. So that's been good. The hardest thing was getting money. We financed by raising some money from a friends and family round of investment, and then we also got a bank loan, which no startups usually ever do, and that was pretty hard. We had to fight like tooth and nail to get the bank to give us a loan and to get the state of Maryland to actually back the loan through their Maryland Industrial Development Financing Authority.
But that's so much better because instead of you get the money and you pay it back instead of having an investment in someone holding it over your head. No, you must make this beer and sell many, many kegs of it.
Yeah, no, it allowed us, Jeff, Julie, and myself, to maintain the majority of the ownership of the company. Which is
and
great.
the creative control too. You're not
Absolutely.
trying to answer to them to make the money, to make the marks.
No, I mean, that's the nice part. The investors that we do have are folks who are sort of just our cheerleaders and who kind of help us when we need that, when we need a connection or whatever, but they're not kind of they don't own us, which is nice.
I think the ease that you say you navigated the legislative process speaks a lot to what craft beer is becoming. We did a piece, I don't know, maybe three weeks ago, where we spoke about what we like to call the beer economics in the state of California and how much it actually contributes to California on an economic scale.
Absolutely.
And so craft beer is only growing; it's only becoming bigger, and I think more and more states are beginning to realize the economic impact that craft beer can have. I mean, the positive economic impact, which in our opinion, I mean, obviously we're biased because we're beer nerds, but the positive impacts greatly outweigh the negative impacts of it.
I think so. I mean, I think this is especially the model we have here, where we are doing production and distribution, and we run a retail establishment 7 days a week in our tap room. We create all kinds of jobs. We've created service jobs. We've created, good paying service jobs. We offer health insurance. We really want to take care of our people. And we also have, several brewing jobs and professional jobs, folks who are doing sales and marketing. So I think it's you can only get that with local manufacturing, and that's the kind of the beauty of craft beer is that there's not many jobs or not many industries where you can create all of those kinds of different jobs and bring people together. And I'd like to tell folks who are interested in Montgomery County here that 70% of the people who work for us live within a few miles of here. So we're also contributing to the revitalization of a downtown area right out of Washington, D.C.
And then so when you pay your folks, I mean, people spend money where they live.
Yeah.
So you pay your folks and they spend money and it goes right back into the community. So, I mean,
especially in the DC area too, it's nice to have an industry that's not related to the government.
Right,
So,
exactly.
Almost 100% of the people that are around here work for the government in some capacity. And so this is nice because with the other craft breweries in this region, we're creating a nice alternative. So living
now,
in this area.
did you have any, I'll say mentors in the process here? Because, the craft beer has got this. We were at Savor last night, and this was people just in competing breweries who are competing for shelf space and competing for this and competing, just being so and just enjoying their company so much to be around each other. And I wonder, does that translate over to the business stuff as well? Because here you come, you know what? We've got an idea. We've got a brilliant brewer. We want to try and do this. We want to do this on a small scale. Can someone help me with a blueprint of how to? I mean, did you have a mentor in the process, or was it just all? Okay, here are the permits the forms you need to fill out for the permit and start it on your own. Did you have someone to kind of guide you through the process?
Yeah, we had a couple people in the brewing industry who were super helpful. So Volker Stewart at Brewers Art in Baltimore was super helpful. He's actually our neighbor just a mile away. So he was a neighbor, lives residential neighbor. And so he was super helpful for us and whenever we needed to call on him. Thor Cheston at Right Proper Brewing Company was also pretty helpful along the way. And then my previous employment, I was the research director at the National Women's Business Council. So I have a whole network of women business owners across the country that I was able to tap when I had questions about investing and gaining investors and that kind of thing and the financial setup. So that's how we do
Now, the
it.
important thing to carry from this is that you're still early in the process. So let's not kid anything. I mean, you're still learning, right?
Yes.
But-
That's the other part of what I was going to say was that, we haven't faced it. I mean, one of the things I love about the craft brewing industry is that there is the camaraderie and that it's not, there's so much room to grow. I always like to cite the stat that in Vermont and Colorado, there's one brewery for every 30,000 people. And in Maryland, there's one brewery for every 190,000 people. And that's the stat from the Brewers Association.
That means room for growth.
Yeah. So you're kind of in an arena right now where everybody is, the bigger competitor is Anheuser-Busch. It's not us or it's not your other local brewery. So
it's nice to hear that story too, because we've been, as we do all the law stuff between the states, we kind of hear kind of a crazy stuff, and it's encouraging to hear that because we get a lot of discouraging news all the time when it comes to
They talk about how saturated the market is.
No, about saturation and legislation as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like that here. I don't think in the DC, Maryland, Virginia region, and I think there's a lot of room to grow here.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is to take that mentality and continue it on, because tomorrow somebody's going to try and do the same thing.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
there's a great mentality out there. The rising tide raises all ships.
Mhm.
And that is, I see that more in the craft beer market than I do really just about anything else. If you're printing T-shirts and Randy's printing T-shirts, you're at each other. Every customer that you lose, he gains. Every customer he gains, that you lose. But this really isn't that way.
Yeah.
You know, you're
No.
gonna have your core customers that come to you every weekend, but the overall improvement of the craft beer market is going to benefit everybody.
Yeah, it was pretty eye-opening for me. We were just at the Craft Brewers Conference in Portland, and to hear that the city of Portland has 40% market share of craft beer was super exciting to me.
Encouraging.
Yeah. But so here, you know, when it's like 10% or whatever it is in the DC area, I don't know for sure, but like there are many bars surrounding us that are just selling beer owned by two major multinational companies where they're not creating American jobs. So
we call it BMC. Bud Miller Coors.
Yeah. So for us, you know, our other breweries are our colleagues.
And it isn't, and the great thing is that it isn't an income difference thing, because the money to buy craft beer that is traditionally higher price market, that isn't the problem here. It's education. It's education. It's the mentality. It's the awareness.
Yeah, it's familiarity. I mean, I think that's one of the things we do struggle with a little bit, is what we wanted to create here was what you see in a lot of West Coast or Colorado or New England areas where you have a tap room and you go to drink at your local brewery.
Mm-hmm.
That concept is a little bit foreign to people in this area.
Yeah.
So we sort of struggle with, like, we're not a restaurant, we're not a brew pub. We partnered with, you know, a food purveyor, but we are a brewery and we do intend to grow. We intend to distribute, so regionally and across the Eastern Coast. So,
well, speaking of growth, you know, you guys are a brewery that's essentially 100% minority owned, right? I mean, you got a Hispanic guy and you got 3 females. From what do you guys want to do differently as far as marketing is concerned? I mean, because I'm sure you don't want to tackle it the same old way.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think one of the cool things about being in Silver Spring, which is where I live, is that it's a very diverse place. So naturally, our clientele is, you know, the ranges of age and like color are pretty wide, and so that's a good thing. It's pretty hackneyed at this point. Like, a lot of marketing is often like using women versus like targeting them. The reality is that women spend most in the household, especially when you get to retail sales. Like, women are going to be the ones.
70. What did Ginger Johnson say last night? Women do like 75% of the shopping,
exactly,
or something like that.
Yeah.
We spoke with Ginger Johnson last night from Women Enjoying Beer, and she dropped that stat on us. So.
Yeah, exactly. So like, women spend most of the money. So, you know, in a household, women are more likely to be going to buy the beer off the shelf. So if you target them both in sort of, you know, branding and messaging, as well as the styles of beer that you're creating, I think you can just reach more people. And so that's our mission.
Right on.
Thank you.
Right
I tell you what, though, the benefits of diversity and living in a diverse community are also its downfalls from Taylor's perspective. Because from a marketing perspective, if you're the big guy, all you have to do is make a commercial with a girl in a low-cut top, and you appeal to a large quantity of people that will consume your product.
Yeah.
But here you have to really market in a different way that's more specific to each of the subcultures that live in your diverse culture.
Yeah.
So you have to appeal to those people differently.
And that's why we did the taproom model. So we wanted to engage people with our beer. I think all of us feel slightly uncomfortable about. I mean, we do self-distribution now. So even when we have wholesale accounts, we go and speak to the buyers, and if there's an issue or concern, we can, you know, help them troubleshoot something.
Yeah.
We did a tap room so that we could have the conversation with people and be evangelists for our own product. And we do that. So generally, like, staff will say to people, if someone's new to craft beer, we'll say, what do you like to normally drink? Like, we'll help you figure out something that we guarantee will give you something that'll be better. And and in line with the flavor profile that you normally like.
It's education.
If you need beer evangelists, you really need to put Randy, Gil, and I on the staff. We'll go back here.
You're
We'll
welcome to
go
join
back here and sling some taps for you, you know, and
We would love that.
talk to these people, because that's really the people that are watching us now,
Yeah.
that are going to watch this program, are the
and people that are going to listen to our podcast.
right, and listen
Yeah.
to our podcast, are the people that say, you know what, I love this. I want something new. I want to know about these people.
Yeah.
And
I think there's a change of mind too, because people are learning that it's better to have quality than quantity. And,
Mhm.
you know, for a long time, I think mostly all over the world they have this quantity is good, so let's
Mhm.
pay a penny for a lot of stuff. I think that's changing a lot with the whole organic movement and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think people are learning to go back and see, hey, quality is much more important than just having
Yeah.
a bunch of it.
yeah,
And-
Especially if you want efficiency in your alcohol content. I mean, the reality is you can drink a 4% beer, or you can drink a 10% beer that we make here. You know, some
Yeah.
of them. So
yeah,
It's and you talk about quality. I mean, you know, we've spoken before. I live in Woodbridge.
Mhm.
Coming here is effort.
hike.
Yeah,
It's a
right.
hike.
yeah.
And I keep coming because the beer is good.
Thank you.
And the beer is good every time I come. It's not that's good. This time it was just all right. The previous recipe was better. No, it's never like that. The beer is always good every time I come, and that speaks to consistency. And if you want to grow, you know, you don't want to grow too fast.
Mhm.
And so the old adage says that, you know, you eat the elephant one bite at a time.
Mhm.
And if you're going to eat the elephant one bite at a time, you got to be consistent with your product. And you also have to educate the people who are coming to drink your product. You have to educate people
Right.
who may not necessarily know about your product. So, I mean,
Absolutely.
that's the whole thing. It's not just beer. You know what I mean?
It's the engagement part of it.
It's the social aspect of it. You have to make people feel comfortable.
Mhm.
Don't alienate people.
Mhm.
Allow people to drink. If someone come and asks you, you know, what should I get? Don't tell them anything based on the color of the beer or anything like that. Ask them, like you said, well, what do you normally drink?
Mhm.
What type of flavors are you going for? This person, you have to assume that they don't know.
Yeah.
So if they say they want something chocolatey, well, I mean, they may automatically assume that they want a stout.
Mhm.
But Stone makes Master of Disguise, which is a golden stout.
Yeah.
And so they may automatically think that they don't like that. But
Mhm.
if you can talk to
Right.
them and engage them and explain to them what they're going to be drinking,
Right.
then, you know what I'm saying, you can win people over by doing stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're facing that right now with our sour beer program. So Jeff is, I have to give Jeff all the credit on the consistency and quality aspects of our production. And one of the things he's really great at is making sour beers. And so we have a lot of beers in progress, and we plan to continue it. We're going to have a sour beer festival here actually in September.
Yeah, we heard there's a press release coming very soon on that.
Soon, yes.
Yeah.
It'll be September 12th.
We got a date.
We're
It's my
having
brother's
breweries from
birthday.
Colorado, from Pennsylvania. We've tapped a lot of Jeff's networks to get some of the best sour beers out here.
You know who's going to be here for that?
Randy Gardner Jr.
Excellent.
This guy.
But the funny part is that people who don't know what a sour beer is will be like, this beer is bad. This keg went bad.
Yeah.
This isn't good.
Yeah.
And so that's one of, I'm realizing as we roll these out that we have to really even ramp up our education more.
I gotta tell you, I want to give a shout out to one of your beers. And prior to coming here, I've never heard of anybody even doing this, and I don't know why you would do it, but it works fantastically. Y'all soured a wee heavy.
Yeah.
I don't know why you did that, but
Me
I am
either.
so glad you did that, because that beer is fantastic.
Thank you. It's
It's-
almost done actually too. It's, but thank you. Yeah, Jeff. I don't know why Jeff did that either, actually. But
You don't ask him if it's delicious. Don't ask him
Yeah.
why he did it.
Yeah.
Just tell him to do it again.
And that beer was good. It has like a lot of like wine-like qualities to it. And when we were setting up our equipment, Matt had his sitting on the table, and I was like, Matt, look at that beer. It looks like a red wine sitting in that
Yeah.
glass,
The color's nice.
and it looked just like this. So
Yeah, thank you.
yeah. You guys are rocking it, and
Thanks so much.
And we
Thanks for
appreciate
coming
it.
here.
I think it's important for everybody to know that the craft word on craft beer is not there it takes an artist, it takes a person with passion
Mhm.
and a talent to do that. So the word craft is there for a reason. This is not just something you put up off of a production.
it's not done all willy-nilly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need somebody like
Let's-
like Jeff to do that.
Absolutely. That's sort of how I knew Jeff would be really good at this. I mean, I'd had his beer before, obviously, through our familial relationships, but I knew that he was smart enough to know the science and to be able to do, the controls. I think a lot of people have the misconception that you just get a recipe and you replicate it, but don't understand the thousands of things that you're monitoring along the way to tweak, especially once you start doing like sour production where you don't really have control. You sort of cede control to the wood of the barrel and that kind of thing. So
be able to make that twice, right? Because you can always make one time the beer, but making that again.
Doing it again.
Yeah, no, he's really talented.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap things up. Tonight's show is brought to you by the letter A, the number 5, and then old adages that Randy and I come up with. Well, rising tides raise all ships. Eat an elephant one forkful at a time.
Actually, Taylor just came up recently. Look at that. Look at that. On cue.
Say goodbye.
She won't be able to hear us, but hi, Taylor.
Hi guys, I'm sorry that I was off for a while, but I'm happy to be back.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, those aren't going to reach. Forget it.
They are.
So we've got 3 of the 4 founders co-owner tonight. So that's really great. And we're wrapping it up. So there's Jill. There's Taylor. We're leaving now. Bye.
Thank you, Taylor. Take care, everybody.
I'm glad you liked all the smart things I had to say.
No, we spoke to Emily a little bit about the marketing aspect and how you don't want to do things just the same old way. You guys are owned by three of the 4 owners are women, and obviously you want to market to that category because, as we spoke earlier, women do like 75% of the spending in this country. Mm-hmm. And also with craft beer, women represent like 33% of the craft beer drinkers. Why in the world would you not want to tap into 33% more craft beer drinkers, right? So how important is it for you to kind of market things differently and do things differently from the way it's been done in the past?
Yeah, well, I think that's a great question. And I think marketing differently does come second nature to us because of who we are. Mm-hmm. It's very easy for me to think about what a woman who happens to spend a lot on alcohol and is 25 wants to do with her free time. That's a very easy for me to think about, along with Emily. Emily worked to create the yoga and beer event. And I think the biggest thing is that women just want to be marketed to as people rather than objects. So it's really just about talking to women at any level of craft beer knowledge they are, not assuming that they only like triples, not assuming that they want the lightest thing. I went
There you go. There you go.
The marketing woman finds it. Yes.
So one of our friends here, Michelle, she's probably inside. She got into craft beer because she found her first beer. She found Bourbon County Stout.
Yeah, right.
So that goes against everything we hear about what goes on at a bar. A female walks in,
right,
and they automatically want to dish out the saison, or they want to dish out some type of lambic or something like that.
Yeah.
And Michelle fell in love with the Bourbon County Stout. That was her first love.
Well, your wife won't drink beer, but she'll drink that bourbon barrel aged coffee stout.
And I hate that because I like the fact that she wants to drink that beer, but I don't want to share that beer with her. I want that beer to myself, right? But it's we should stop being prejudiced, right?
Exactly.
Be unassuming. Be open-minded. Yeah. Assume that everybody's going to be open to everything, right?
Well, assume that everybody wants a really high quality product.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Bingo. That's right.
There's not. Yeah, everyone wants the opportunity to have that. So.
Well, and it is so important to realize though that we grew up in a period of time where the beer heartbeat at 90, right? And that's what they were going for.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And that's what we try to strive to break out from.
Yeah.
Is that I enjoy sitting down and drinking a craft beer and talking about that craft beer more than anything.
Regardless of who you're talking to.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So if my dog could talk and had good tastes, I'd have a great conversation with my dog. And I don't think that who you are, where you are, what you come from, what you look like should have any bias as to how much you enjoy that. So
yeah,
I guess we could probably get down off the step now, right? We're up here on this soapbox, and
well, I'll say this, and we spoke to Emily earlier about consistency of product, and I think you guys make a fantastic product. It's always been consistent every time that I've been here, and that speaks a lot to your skills, Jeff, as a brewer, and the experience that I've had has been consistent every time, and that speaks a lot to you guys. So. Keep making great beer, and people are going to keep buying it. And I mean, whatever. I mean, in my opinion, for what it's worth, the 2 cents that it's worth, I think that you guys have everything in place that you need in order to be as successful as you want to be. Yeah. So, I mean, we're glad to. You guys are our friends.
Yeah.
We're glad to be friends with you, and to share this wonderful libation that we call beer. 4 ingredients that can be manipulated so many different ways to achieve so many different endpoints, and we think it's awesome, and you guys are rocking it.
So the bottom line is everybody come down to Denizens Brewing here and see what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
You've watched Pints and Quarts. We've been here every week now. I think this is like episode 47. So we're getting close to be on a year.
Boris, we didn't ask Boris if he had any questions.
Boris, do you have any questions for the lovely people?
Boris is a member of Craft Beer Nation. He's actually in the Air Force. He's right now. He's in Qatar. He's deployed. So it's probably like, I don't know, 9-10 o'clock or something like that over there.
Thanks for staying up late, and thanks for your service.
Yeah. And Boris is a Maryland native. So Boris, did you have any questions that you wanted to ask?
Sure. This is regarding your official announcement of your Sour Fest you're having. Would that time frame happen to coincide with a well-known international day known as Swanza Day that happens in Brussels from the Cantillon Brewery? So I'm wondering if it happens to coincide with that, because I've luckily been to one.
He wants to know if your Sour Fest ties into Swanza Day at Cantillon.
He doesn't care.
Jeff says yes.
They're gonna rock it. They're gonna rock it on their own.
Can we co-market that? Is there some way we can make a flyer out of that? That's what they want.
No, I'm asking it just out of curiosity. I mean, I don't know if they planned it like that. It just, if it ended up being that way, that's fantastic.
That's when the beer was ready. So
no, it's just September as a month was when we wanted to do it, and there was a lot of stuff going on. And the 12th was the best weekend, so. That's why we chose
the calendar. The calendar
works.
Yeah. But if you can find other reasons for us, stick with it.
Yep.
All right.
Well, I wish I was there.
Yeah. We'll tell you how good it is. I'm coming out too. All right. Thanks everybody for listening and watching. This has been Pints and Quarts on location at Denizens Brewing Company, Silver Spring, Maryland. I'm Matt, Randy, Jeff, Emily, Taylor, and Gil and Boris. And we will see you next week. I have absolutely no idea who our guest is next week because we are totally focused on going back to Saber Night and enjoying ourselves. It was we worked last night.
It was an effort.
So tonight we're going to enjoy it and have a good time. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. And until next week, Gil's getting his buttons ready. Find some great friends. Find some great craft beer. And mind those P's and Q's.